This is Danny Flexon here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by highly esteemed trainer Xavier Miller at the IQ Boxing Gym in Neasden, of course, where you are the main man. It's fair to say. How's everything going?
I wouldn't. I'm not the main man. The other head coach is Nick Prempe. So we built this together from the beginning, from ground up. So yeah, the journey's ours.
All due respect to Nick as well. Started off by giving someone some shade by accident there. We can see behind you some of the main fighters from the gym currently, including Yusuf Kumari, Pester, of course, as well, John Hardin Jr., DILLIAN WHYTE. Just tell us a little bit about 2022 as a whole. How do you reflect on it for the stable?
I don't know. I always try to take the positives from everything. I think that we've, me and Nick, we started this gym in 2013. In Neasden, we were lucky. We walked in, spoke to the ladies who were actually running the centre, and said, we've got some plans. And we were looking everywhere for a building. We both worked at other gyms previously, and yeah, we were fortunate enough to find a home here, and the support has been amazing. The ladies' names are Miss Matthews and her daughters. They've embraced me and Nick, and we've delivered. We promised what we would do. The same with all the sponsors that I've got, Tiger Bay, Bravo, Ceiling Boards and KMT. They've just been amazing. I mean, the journey's been great up to this point, and just really, really grateful.
And this year, particularly, if we look at kind of some of the fighters in turn, John Hardin Jr., do you feel with him, because of how late he started, he's already kind of won, if you like? He's already kind of, I'm sure there's more places to go, but he's already kind of achieved a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the journey with John Hardin has been a special one. I mean, most of the guys that I've got currently are guys that I've built basically from scratch. They were with me in the amateurs, and then we turned pro. That was the whole point. I met John after, obviously, I teamed up with Team Whyte, and we've just got on like great since the very beginning. And I've always had a lot of respect for John Hardin. Obviously, came into boxing late, but he's always one of the toughest challengers, and he's always gone in with the best guys. And for me, as a boxer, if you've always aspired to fight the best guys, to me, you've already won me over, because I'm not here to duck and dodge no one. I want to come up against the best trainers. As a boxer, I want to come up against the best boxers. So, I like that competition, and that's why I've got so much love and respect for the likes of Prospere, DILLIAN WHYTE, Yusuf Kumari, John Hardin. These guys are obviously more experienced than the other guys I've got in the gym, but they always want to fight the best guys, and that's all I've ever wanted from any boxer.
And talking of Prospere, his defeat to Sandor Martin doesn't look so bad now, does it? I mean, Martin's doing great things at world level.
I mean, honestly, a lot of people don't know anything about boxing. When we were offered that fight, I spoke to Kay, and Kay only ever boxed on the small shows. He'd never made any money. He was sent to me. Steve Goodwin sent him to me, I think 3 years ago. And at that time, he'd lost the Southern Area title fight to Rakeem Noble. Career wasn't really going anywhere. And Kay walked in here, and he just said, well, he said, I want to fight the English champion. He's the guy that everyone's avoiding. I want to fight him. And I said, okay, hold on 1 second. Let's at least get a fight together first, so I can see where we are. So we took on Nathan Weiss. Kay did a fantastic job. And then, eventually won the English title. He was the first person from Luton to win the English title. And Kay's another one who started boxing very, very late. Kay's like 36, 37 now. Wow. Started boxing very, very late. Again, it's the heart, the commitment. He's a worker. And, unfortunately for him, I was in Portugal with DILLIAN. We were getting ready for the rematch with Povetkin. So obviously the focus was on that. That was a very, very important fight for DILLIAN. So everybody else had to wait in line. And DILLIAN put a lot of trust and faith in me. And, I went out there and, basically committing my career to DILLIAN at that point. And, it's very important that tactically we got everything right. It's just funny enough that all the things that we've been working on early all came together in that fight. There's a lot of things that I spoke to DILLIAN about, about his posture, about his balance. about him not exchanging in certain situations, and he got it all right in that rematch. You know, done a real job on perfecting. But unfortunately for Kay, when I got back after that fight, after that win, Kay had 2 weeks till the Sandor fight. So I never had a chance to have a full camp. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, Kay would have beat him. I knew how good Sandor was, but it would definitely put a much better performance. You know, Kay did have his moments in that fight. It was awful out there in Spain, to be honest with you, in Barcelona, because, you know, the referee, every time they got close, the referee kept breaking up, and then he was threatening me, saying that, you know, if I don't tell him to calm it down, they're basically going to disqualify us. I'd never come across anything quite like it. But, you know, Kay, you know, did the best he could do. But I saw his last 2 or 3 spars before we went out to Spain for that fight. And, you know, I got all these abusive messages. Oh, you know, Kay didn't do this, didn't do that. Well, fair play. When Sandor was set to fight Mikey Garcia, I told everybody that he'd beat him because I'd seen it firsthand. You know, he's so slippery close up, very hard to pin him down. Even when you do, he knows what he's doing in there. And, you know, I told people to put a bet on Sandor Martin as well. They won money. And then same again, I told you to put money on Sandor Martin to beat Teofimo Lopez, because I just thought that it's for me, a lot of time with the boxing, it's the styles. And I think Teo was a fantastic fighter, but Sandor, you know, he's almost like, even though he's negative, he's almost like the new Winky Wright. He's like a southpaw that no one really wants to fight, even though, you know, Winky Wright later in his career is a lot more aggressive. But Sandor's tricky, you know, and again, he pushed him to the wire. That was a very, very close fight. He didn't get the second knockdown, which he should have, 2 knockdowns. And for some judges to give him only 2 rounds in that fight, 2-3 rounds, was an absolute disgrace. So, you know, I said to Kay, you know, Kay was still really disappointed with you know, how that fight went. You know, he thought he could do so much more. But I just said to him, you know, I spoke to him a couple of days ago. I said, well, look, you know, this guy is world class. You know, you went from English domestic level to fighting a world class fighter. You know, don't worry, come again. So yeah, but Kay's doing well. You know, had a bit of an injury, so he'll be getting out again next year.
And Yusuf Kumari is someone who you've known the talent for a long time, but now finally he seems to be getting a bit more exposure and more people are recognizing how good he is. That must be pretty heartening for you.
Yeah, again, you know, Yousef, I've known Yousef since he was like 15 years old. You know, to have to finish his last couple of years in the amateurs with me. He won like a national title in the amateurs at this gym, and then to go on and have the career he's had. You know, as soon as Dillian walked in my gym and saw him working, he said, "Yeah, the kid looks good." Came back next time and he was sparring, and Dillian took the sparring. He headed the corner for Yousef, and when he finished, he said, "That kid listens. You know, he's very good." So, and that's the reason why Dillian ended up signing him. Obviously disappointed with the last 12 months. You know, we took the Castaneda fight. Everybody in Matchroom, you know, Darren Barker, Tony Belly, they all had him winning that fight. So I don't even know how he lost that fight on points. That's the first time I've really seen Yousef genuinely disappointed, because he knew that was his big chance and he thought that he'd done enough. I don't think 1 or 2 good rounds is enough to go and win a fight. I thought Yousef had him on the back foot. Castaneda's a puncher, we knew that. But yeah, again, really good fight. Both of them put on a good display of boxing. But kind of quiet for the last 12 months. You know, Yousef hasn't had a chance to get back out there, which is disappointing. I thought that, you know, Matchroom would give him another chance. He didn't really get that. Yeah, but now he's been, the board ordered the final eliminator for the British title. Bellotti, really happy about that fight. It's a fight that I wanted for a long time for Yousef. These kind of guys, like Kid Galahad, those kind of guys for Yousef, to me right now, perfect. I like the Lee Wood fight. I like all these kind of fights for Yousef because his skill set, I mean, I've said it loads of times. As a super featherweight in the UK, to me, he's the most skilled. The other guys have got more talent, more experience. They've got a lot more experience. Zelba Barrett's had a lot more fights than Yousef. You know, Joe Cordine, a really good fighter, I rate him highly. But he's a star-sided amateur as well. But the skill set I'm talking about, being able to fight in different areas of that ring, to me, Yousef is a different class, and I think he will go on to prove that. So yeah, looking forward to. Well, I'm hoping that Liam Dillon wins that British title fight, because he's been ordered by the board to challenge to fight for the vacant title. Can't remember the name of the guy, Southpaw, good fighter. But if he wins, we've got a fantastic rematch with Yousef, which everyone loved the first fight. So yeah, Yousef's, you know, working really hard in the gym. he did manage to get out. I think he managed to get him out in September, thanks to Paul from High Rise Promotions. I've now actually teamed up with them because I'm going to start promoting myself now. But yeah, Yousef put on a really fun performance. It was almost like a Gatti Ward sort of fight in there. The guy really came to have a go. Sprung a few surprises, but Yousef, trained well, knows what to do in the situations, and knocked the guy down in the last round. And it's a good thing it was only a 6-rounder. I would have got him out if it was an 8. But yeah, again, I just wanted to get him out because if he hadn't gone out then, he would have been out for well over a year. So at least now, I think this fight, the British title eliminator, has gone to Prospere. So hopefully late February, early March, Yousef will get to go out. But yeah, really happy with Yousef's career. He's a pleasure to work with, honestly.
Now, you were the head trainer for Dillian in the world title challenge to Tyson Fury earlier this year. Is that your first world title fight as a coach?
Yeah. I've been in I've been involved in a lot of fights. I've been with Don with Derek against Takam. But I've been around a long time, but obviously nothing. I mean, there's not many coaches that can say they've been in a title fight with 94,000 people. Now that's a highlight for anyone's career. Still not sure why we didn't perform in that fight. We did a lot of good things in sparring. Obviously confidence was high, and obviously had that rematch with Povetkin. We had another reasonably good camp. But yeah, I just don't know. I can't put my finger, even now, I can't put my finger on what it was. I think I'd rather just give the credit to Tyson Fury, as I did in the first Povetkin fight. I thought Dillian was doing a job on Povetkin. But, to me, if you find a shot like that, give credit, because he was in a lot of trouble. I'd say Tyson Fury, he's proved that he is elite. He's just very tall, very awkward. He can switch. He's just a very, very good fighter. And I'd like to see him in Joshua. I'd definitely like to see him in Usyk, because I think Usyk has the skills to match with Tyson Fury, has the fundamentals. But outside of those two fights, I think Tyson Fury will probably need to have those two fights to really, say that he's been the best of his era, because Joshua's also got a good resume. And Usyk, to me, anyone who's come from the lower weights and come up, I'm a massive fan, because to me, the hardest thing is to come up through the weights and win titles and have to fight naturally bigger fighters. So he needs to fight those two to really say, yeah, he is number one. But yeah, Dillian is young enough, and he'll come again. And I speak to Dillian all the time. We're very, very close. So yeah, any time I would happily work with Dillian again, honestly.
And then the obvious follow-up question to that is, why are you no longer in the corner? We saw him come back against Jermaine Franklin. We can talk about that fight in a minute, but why were you not there, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, that wasn't the plan. We obviously, I'd done interviews previously. We were in camp getting ready for, the Fury fight. And then after that fight, we came back to camp, and there was a couple of changes that need to be made. And, the team wanted to go out to America. And I've been in Portugal for 2.5 years. I'd left my gym behind, all my boxers, all my coaches. And to be fair to the likes of Yasser, Yousef, K Prosper, all these guys, they spent their money and came out to Portugal, and they kept spending their money and coming out. But it's not sustainable. There was always going to be a conversation at some point. I was hoping that Dillian would come back to the UK and come back to my gym, and that's what I was hoping. But they really wanted to do that camp out there, and they wanted to replace Buddy McGirt with Harold Knight, which I thought was a fair decision. Harold is very, very good. I don't rate one over the other. Harold Knight spent his whole career with Lennox Lewis. Buddy McGirt, former world champion, has had multiple world champions. So the two guys are very good trainers. I mean, obviously, I'm happy to work with anybody. But at this point in my career, I've got coaches here that I want to build, and I've got my own team that I'm really comfortable with. And to go and travel again for another camp like somewhere else, it was too much for me. The plan was never to replace me as head coach. Me and Dillian are very, very close. We just wanted to add to the team, and I don't blame him. If I'd been granted my boxing license, no one could tell me what decisions to make with my own career. I would bring in who I wanted to bring in, add who I wanted to add, and he has the right to do that. And I support him what he does. And like I said, if Dillian needed me for anything, I'm a phone call away. We're very, very close.
With that in mind, how frustrating did you find watching the Franklin fight? Because whether you felt Whyte deserved the win or not, it wasn't his greatest performance.
I've had so much messages about that. It's just I was there. We spoke. I said I'm definitely going to come and watch. Obviously, nothing's changed between me and Dillian. It's funny. It's whether we're boxing or we're not. Whether we're in boxing or not, we still talk all the time. I watched the fight, and again, every time you hear a fighter coming from Detroit, Michigan, you need to pop your ears up, because it was the same when I went to watch the first time. I think Alicia Baumgartner fought over here. I can't remember who she fought, world champion, but she knocked her out. And as she
Harper, wasn't it?
Harper, as she was walking out, and they said where she was from, everybody that was around me, it was the media as well, said, "She's from there." Well, this will be interesting because, my coach was from the Midwest, so it's like you get guys like off the street who come in the gym who don't even box professionally or full time, and they can beat up most boxers because they just the fundamentals over there in the schooling and the teaching is different. It's a lot like what I've taught Yousef. That's why Yousef looks different to most of the boxers in his weight division. It's a style that I'm very, very comfortable. Every coach has a preference. I can teach different styles, but that is my preference. So I'm watching. We were watching Jermaine before because there was talks about fighting Jermaine. I think it was maybe even before or after the Wallen fight. So the Wallen fight that was supposed to happen, there was a conversation about Jermaine. So I was watching him. Very good. Just slick, good jab. He's had a good amateur career as well. So people have to put things into perspective. Dillian with 7-8 amateur fights is constantly boxing guys who have a lot more experience than he does. He's got his experience by fighting top competition. He's gone a different way about it. But you look at all the top guys in boxing now, the likes of Haney, Shakur, Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, they were star-studded amateurs with all 200-300 amateur fights. It matters. These guys start at 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. It matters. That kind of schooling and education, it serves you well later in your career. That's why coaches always say to you, it's better you've had some amateur experience. So when you do get to this level, it is different. That's why those guys are at the top of the sport. So any fight, Dillian does whatever he needs to do. He's got the heart, he's got the power, and he's still got the hunger. So, I think that's what got him through that fight. I think the championship rounds is what won Dillian that fight. I think if you're talking going into round 9, 10, it's a very, very close fight. If you had it even, you couldn't have complained. But to me, again, even though Jermaine's had a good amateur experience, he hasn't fought the kind of competition that Dillian has in the pros at top level. And obviously the 12-round distance, Dillian's had more experience to me. So that's when I think Dillian started to take over. He knows how to fight tired. He's been there before, been in with the likes of Parker, Rivas. So you can't buy that kind of experience. So that's why I think he managed to win that fight by 2 or 3 rounds.
Do you think if he sticks with the current training setup, the next fight will see an improved performance because he's had more time to adjust to whatever they're asking him to do?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the fight back again when I went home. And again, Buddy is someone that I speak to everybody about, frequently. He's someone that I watched, when he was a fighter. I like what he does in the corner. He's consistent. A lot of the things that he does is what, I try to encourage, like all my fighters to do, stick to the jab, exchange at the right time. Break guys down, and I think he was telling Dillian the right thing. Keep picking the guy up on your jab. You don't need to get into any silly exchanges with this guy. And I think Dillian, a lot of time Dillian was listening. I could see Dillian wanted to go because of the kind of fighter he is. He's a warrior, he's a fighter first and a boxer. But fair play to Dillian, he listened. But you could see when he was more aggressive, he was starting to get to Jermaine. And I think that was the right time to do it. If you'd done it earlier, you might have got yourself in some problems. But I think you broke the guy down enough where the pace slowed down to a point where Dillian started to take over the experience. And I think, and if he started maybe a round earlier, might have stopped him late.
And you said you'd happily work with Dillian again. From the rumour mill, and you probably know more than I do, it seems like he might be going into a long-awaited rematch with Anthony Joshua in the spring. Would you relish being a part of camp for a fight like that?
I'd relish being part of camp for any fight that Dillian has. Outside of my stable, my gym, which is very, very dear to me, like this is what I want to be known for, is building guys for the amateurs and turn them pro. Because to me, a lot of trainers get too much credit for taking on guys that are already either a household name, or they're star-studded amateurs, or they've already won a world title. That's all good, that's fair. But me, I like what Emmanuel Stewart did with Thomas Hearns, had him in the amateurs and then built him into a pro. I like that journey. To me, I think it should be more respected. I think it's more respectable that you've actually built somebody and then had them on the circuit, whether it's domestically or world level. I think that's what coaches should be looking to do. But Dillian, outside of that, is the only other fighter that really, really interested me, because I could see there's things that he needed to go back to the fundamentals, and I thought that maybe my influence might have been exactly what he needed. We were getting there. It takes years to build a fight on. It takes years. That's why these guys start from kids. To build those fundamentals takes such a long time, and Dillian's constantly playing catch up. Yeah, so outside of my own stable, it's always great to be involved in these big fights and so on and so forth. But this is my home. This is where I belong, and this is what I want to be known for. Everyone in and around this area knows me and Nick for having this club and taking young kids off the street and getting them involved in boxing. Avoiding like gun crime, knife crime. Building like young people, into men really that can look after themselves and have families of their own. And the mentoring side of it is very important to me as well. We because me and Nick both came from an education background as well. It's very important that we do our part in our community to help the young people. So yeah, this is more what I'm about, really, more than anything else. But yeah, with Dillian anytime, honestly.
And just finally, before I let you go, with that in mind as well, what can we expect from you and from IQ Boxing in 2023?
Yeah, I think the whole journey was all going to plan up until COVID. Most of my pros, like they turned pro 2016, 2017. So it was like 2020, 2021 was like we're all going to go for titles now. We kind of lost a year and a half, 2 years. And, that's why I managed to get out to Portugal. The timing was good because there wasn't really much going on in boxing. Even like all the clubs were closed. So, it made sense to be out there and, continue working with Dillian. But, we're kind of playing catch up. I think next year is the year where I'd like Prospere to fight for a British title or have another go at European or Commonwealth. Yusuf Kumari to win a British title. Or maybe a Commonwealth Intercontinental. I'm building a kid. I've got a kid, Jesse Brandon, just had his debut the other day. Sold loads of tickets on a Wasserman show. He used to be at Finchley Boxing Club with Anthony Joshua, and he's doing really, really well. Expecting big things from him. I've got Yasser Algena, 8-0. Adrian Redmond, 8-0. There's a lot of good guys coming out of my gym. I've got Sadem Amma, my female boxer. She'll be making her debut soon. She was unbeaten as an amateur. There's a lot of talent. I've got a heavyweight turning pro as well. You know, he sells a lot of tickets. So next year's going to be really busy for me. I'm managing 2 or 3 fighters. So yeah, you know, we're just going to keep building. And yeah, I'm just really grateful and happy to be in the position that I'm in.
And see you promoting next year as well on a regular basis? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to join up with a team with High Rise Promotion. They're based in Dunstable, Luton. You know, very close to the guy who runs it, who is his cousin. He's a K Prosper cousin.
Okay.
He does. So you know, hopefully we'll start doing some London shows. But yeah, I think I had Yousef, Yasser, and Adrian on a show in September. Went really well. Ticket sales were good. Everyone enjoyed it. It was packed. And yeah, I'm looking to build from there, because that's ultimately what I want to do. And then when I finish coaching and promoting, I'd like to eventually go on to be either a judge or a ref. I don't think there's enough coaches or professional boxers that actually go into judging, and I think that's sometimes why we have a lot of bad decisions, because there's not enough of us, you know, after we finished our coaching careers or boxing careers, going on and, you know, getting involved in judging. I mean, I know they get a lot of stick, but it'll be a bit more difficult to get at somebody who's been there and done it. I think we could really do with more of these guys getting involved. You know, the likes of guys like Ian Napper, these kind of guys. I think they'd be great, an asset to the boxing board as judges and as referees. I think what we is, and to me, it's about giving back. So that's what I'd be looking to do after I finish my coaching career.
Awesome. Really, really appreciate your time, not just today, but throughout the year. You've always been really helpful to us, and yeah, onwards and upwards in 2023.
No doubt. Thank you very much for your time.
Cheers, mate. Take care. Speak soon.